There are hundreds of Pokemon out there that are considered great. Whether they have cool design, stats, or typing, we all have different reasons for why we like certain Pokemon. However, we can end up disliking Pokemon for the same reason. And while I believe that's true, I think there's more criteria that goes into a reason for hating a Pokemon. Before we get into the list, I just want to make it clear that I don't hate any Pokemon, except for number 1 maybe. There are many Pokemon out there, and everyone is bound to dislike some of them, and the Pokemon on this list just so happen to be the 10 I like the least. That being said, let's get into my top 10 least favorite Pokemon. Before we get into the list, we're gonna have an honorable mention. Flaffy. What? But you love the Mareep line. How could you say that? I know. And I do. Here's the thing. Mareep is a cute Pokemon. Ampharos is perfect. But Flaffy, while I don't hate it, it's kind of the awkward one of the three. I just wish they came up with a better design, because what were they thinking? Making it pink? Why? Even just a simple color swap to Mareep's colors would have been a great idea, but instead they make it look stupid and goofy, completely changing up its color scheme. There are Pokemon that I dislike more than Flaffy that aren't on the list, but I had to make it apparent that I just wish they could have done something different. Anyway, let's start talking about the Pokemon I really don't like, starting with number 10, Combusken. You shouldn't be surprised to see a middle stage starter evolution on this list, and in my opinion, Combusken is the worst of them all. I somehow dislike it so much that it even ended up making a spot on this list. Why don't I like it? Well, let's look at the other evolution, shall we? Torchic is really cute, like all starters should be. While it's not as cute as Mudkip, it still looks really nice. Blaziken is cool and the reason I picked Torchic in the first place. In fact, it's hands down my favorite fire starter of all time. But then you see Combusken and it's just like, why? Why do you exist? They seriously couldn't think of a better design? Just thinking about this Pokemon while I was writing the script made me mad. I wish the Pokemon moving forward would make me feel better, but no, it's only gonna get worse from here. Number 9, Meganium. The first word that comes to my mind when I see this Pokemon is disappointing. Chikorita is a cute starter. I'll be honest, it doesn't deserve as much hate as it gets. Bayleaf is also a really cool mon. In fact, it's one of the coolest middle stage starter evolutions to date. But it seems to me that they both get slandered, but not to any fault of their own, but because of this little bugger. Meganium ruins, and that's right, I mean ruins the other two Prevos. Bayleaf had this cool leaf thing on its head, which I could see it being used to attack the opponent. But what do? They replace it with these two dumb antenna things, and it just looks plain tacky. They could have kept the leaf and even made it bigger, but no. Game Freak went the boring route and just made it into a giant veggie dinosaur. I don't even necessarily dislike the mon itself, but Game Freak for not even giving it the love it deserved. This mon is in this list because of how disappointing it is and how it ruined what could have been an epic starter line. Number 8, Slacking. There's two words to perfectly describe why I don't like this Pokemon. Kaizo Ironman. This Pokemon has single-handedly ended like half my runs. Why? Look at its BST. It's massive. Look at its type. It's normal type, meaning it only has one weakness. And in Kaizo Ironman, the abilities are random, meaning it doesn't have True On. It will attack you at full force with all its power, and there's nothing you can do about it. Even outside of that, it's ugly. It sure ain't winning no beauty contest anytime soon. That paired with his ability just making it not fun to even use, and you got a pretty horrible Pokemon. Number 7, Quavo. This has to be an all-time low for Pokemon designs. I don't even know. I can't even verbally describe how bad this Pokemon looks. It has this weird dance thing that reminds me of Jinx, and we all know how loved that Pokemon is. This has to be the worst starter design that Game Freak has ever come up with to date. I don't like it because what about it can you like? Its Prevos aren't even enough to save it because I knew before I even saw the final evolutions that I was not going to pick Quaxly. If you guys have a reason to like this thing, please let me know in the comments because in all honesty, this thing has no good qualities and is a disgrace to all starter Pokemon everywhere. Number 6, Ladybug. What is this thing? Oh, it's a ladybug. Okay. What else? That's it? Oh, well, okay, that's kind of weird. Is it strong? No? Well, it has to at least evolve into something really cool, right? Number 5. Lydian. Lame. Lame, 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 lame! This is the lamest Pokemon ever. Why don't I like it? Oh, I don't know. It sucks. I never could ever see a reason to ever like this thing. No one talks about it. Why? Because it's lame. No one likes this Pokemon. It's never talked about because no one actually ever cares about it. Name one person you know that has said they like this Pokemon. No one. What is there to like about it? Nothing. There is nothing interesting, cool, anything that makes this Pokemon good. It's not even good in battle. Look at those stats. They're hot garbage. No one likes this Pokemon, and it should stay that way because it has to be one of the lamest Pokemon Game Freak has ever made. No, it is the lamest. This thing ain't being in no top 10 or even top 100 favorite Pokemon lists anytime soon. Number 4. Typhlosion. I know, out of all the Pokemon on this list, this is probably the Pokemon that will get me murdered, but hear me out. Why does this thing get so much love and affection? I'm genuinely asking, what about this Pokemon makes it so great? It has to be one of the most boring starter designs of all time. With lesser like starters like Empoleon or Emboar, at the very least they have interesting designs. What does Typhlosion have? Nothing. Nothing! The one word to describe this Pokemon besides overrated is boring. That's not the only reason I don't like it though. It outshadows Feraligatr, and in all honesty, that's what makes me the most mad. Feraligatr is one of the coolest and most fun to use starters from all the generations, but gets overshadowed by a giant rat covered in fire. Nothing is cool about that. Leave the dark side of liking things just because they have fire on it, and join the light side of liking Pokemon for actually good reasons. Please, I implore you to defend Typhlosion in the comments, because I really have no idea why it gets all this love it very much doesn't deserve. Number 3. Omastar and Omaite. I've also included Omaite on this list for the same reason, but Omastar takes the cake because that's the evolution that made it popular in the first place. Why don't I like Omastar? Look at it. It's so ugly. This has to be one of the most unattractive Pokemon that Game Freak has ever released. Look at its bird beak. Look at its blue spaghetti noodles we call tentacles. What about this thing designers are redeeming by any means? But its design is not why I don't like it. It's the same reason I don't like Typhlosion. It overshadows a way cooler Pokemon than itself. In this case, Kabutops. Probably already know that Kabutops is my favorite Pokemon, so it pains me that people will not just willingly, but instinctually pick the Helix fossil over the Dome fossil. You take a really cool Pokemon with a really cool origin, and then you proceed to bury it deep, deep down because you happen to like a Pokemon with worse stats and a worse design. There are several Pokemon that get way more attention than they deserve, and Omastar will always be one of them. Forget about the stupid shell and pick the epic scythe-handed fossil for a change. You won't be disappointed. Number 2, Enamoris. Ooh boy, this Pokemon. I love to hate it. Who likes this Pokemon? I will personally find you and wring you out by the earlobe for liking this thing. What problems do I have with it? Well, it's not because I hate the other genies. In fact, I really like the other genies. It's such a cool premise and I like their types and all that. Really solid legendaries. But this thing, this, in my opinion, is the ugliest Pokemon of all time. Neither of its forms look good. Why is it even in Legends Arceus in the first place? Last I checked, the genies were Gen 5 Pokemon. That's not the only reason I hate this thing, oh no. So when I played through PLA, I was intrigued by this Pokemon and wanted to complete the Pokedex, so I went after it to catch it. I found it and caught it in about 5 minutes. It was a little rough, but Thundurus was harder to catch, so I didn't care that much. I saw its nature and it was hot garbage, so I was like, oh, well that sucks. I'll just catch it again to get a better nature, no big deal. Except there was one problem. It was a big deal. I don't know what it was, but I could not for the life of me catch this thing again. It took me like 40 minutes to catch it the second time and I have no idea why. The worst part was when I did catch it, it had the same nature, meaning I could catch it over and over again and it would still have the same crappy nature. I was so mad, and considering I've never had a Pokemon make me so mad, should easily make it number 1 on this list. Except there just so happens to be one Pokemon I hate more. Not a little more, but a lot more. This next Pokemon I hate more than all the Pokemon in this list combined. That being number 1. Delibird. I guess the best way to start this off would be to describe why I hate this Pokemon. If you ever played Pokemon Nuzlocke, you know the rules. If a Pokemon faints, you can't use it anymore. You can only catch the first Pokemon in each route, etc. On one of my playthroughs, I found a Delibird. As you all probably know, Delibird doesn't have great stats or even a great move pool. Its typing's also horrible, but I thought to myself, well, it's just a Delibird. It kind of sucks. I'll just catch it and throw it in the box for it to rot for the rest of its life, and if it's lucky, I'll use it as a Sackmon so I don't have to lose one of my good Pokemon. But let me tell you, this thing is not easy to catch, and I have no idea why. This stupid, dumb loser of a Pokemon is just as hard to catch as a starter Pokemon. It's just as hard to catch as a Mew. A Mew! Why? Its stats can't even back it up. They're horrible. Well, maybe it has good moves. No, they're also horrible. Despite this thing's moveset being actual garbage, not only does it break out of the Pokeballs I keep throwing at it over and over again, which mind you, shouldn't be difficult in the slightest, but it manages to defeat several of my Pokemon. Why would they make such a weak, pathetic, useless Pokemon so hard to catch? I lose half my team trying to catch a Pokemon statistically worse than Tentacool. Tentacool! Why does this thing exist? Oh, we need a Christmas Pokemon. No, we don't! Even if we do, make a Pokemon that's, I don't know, actually good? Its design isn't even a redeemable quality. It's not ugly, but it sure ain't nothing special. And as if I didn't hate this Pokemon enough, you know how Game Freak betrays me? They make a Paradox form for it. Why, out of all Pokemon to make a Paradox form for, they pick Delibird. So you know what? Iron Bundle can share the spotlight with Delibird. I don't even care. But the thing that puts the nail in the coffin that just absolutely makes my blood boil is that people actually like this Pokemon. Why? What about this thing do you like? It's not cute. It's not cool. It's not good. It's not strong. What could you possibly like? At least with a couple other Pokemon on this list, they aren't liked in general, but there is not an excuse for anyone to like this thing. I already hate this thing as much as I do, but to think there are people out there that don't dislike this thing as much as I do make me even more mad. Which is why Delibird is not just my least favorite Pokemon, but the worst Pokemon of all time.